I want you to understand something right now. I don't believe in ghosts. I grew up in a military family, joined the army at 18, served in intelligence. To me, the world is physics, ballistics, and logic. If a door creaks, you lubricate it with WD-40. You don't say a prayer. You got my mindset? Good. Then remember this fact, because what happened in the Appalachian woods in December of 2019 defies both logic and physics. And yeah, I still sleep with the lights on. It was a retreat. Sounds funny, right? A former Army Ranger on a mindfulness retreat. My therapist said I needed to reset my nervous system after 4 tours in Iraq. Josh, he said, rent a cabin in the middle of nowhere. No phone, no news. Just you, a wood stove, and the stars. I found the perfect place. A small cabin with panoramic windows. The only warning from the host read, "The cabin is 7 miles from the nearest dirt road. Complete seclusion, no cell service. In case of emergency, there is a satellite phone in the pantry." The first 2 days were paradise. I chopped wood, read Hemingway by the light of a kerosene lamp. The silence was thick. Only the wind moved through the crowns of 100-year-old oaks. You know what silence sounds like in a forest when there are no birds? There were no birds there, none. I chalked it up to winter. On the 3rd night, I woke up freezing. The fire in the stove had died, and the temperature inside the cabin had dropped below freezing. The clock read 3:33 a.m. I shoved my feet into my boots, threw on my jacket, and stepped out onto the porch for an armful of firewood. It wasn't the wind. The wind howls. This was a whistle. But it didn't come from one direction. It was everywhere, as if the air around the cabin had turned into a taut string. Like an idiot, I turned on my phone's flashlight. The beam hit the tree line about 30 feet away. There was nothing there. But the snow on the branches, it was vibrating. Not from the wind, there was no wind. The branches were shaking, like from a low-frequency hum I couldn't hear with my ears but could feel in my teeth. And the whistle grew louder, and syllables started to form inside it. I'm not crazy. I went through SEER training. I know what a fox sounds like during mating season. This was not a fox, and not a cougar. It sounded like a human voice trying to say the word, "help me," but played through an old tape deck at quarter speed. Low, guttural, "Help me!" And then I made the biggest mistake of my life. I yelled into the darkness, "Hey, who's out there? Do you need help?" The whistle stopped, instantly. Absolute, ringing silence. And then it answered. From the woods, in the direction I was shining the light, came my own voice. The exact same question, but with a horrible metallic reverberation. "Who's there? Do you need help?" It perfectly copied my intonation, my Ohio accent. But at the end, the sound curled back into that high-pitched whistle that physically made my eardrums vibrate with pain. I slammed the door and locked the deadbolt. I rushed to the pantry, grabbed the satellite phone. It was charged. I dialed 911. Static. Just white noise and again, that same whistle, coming through the phone. I dropped the receiver. That's when something scratched against the panoramic window. I turned around. On the frosted glass from the outside, a pattern began to appear. An invisible finger was tracing letters on the icy surface. Slowly, deliberately. WHEREAREYOU. I froze. It was standing right behind the glass, but I couldn't see it. I decided to break through. I flung open the back door and ran. I turned off the flashlight because the Army taught me that light in the darkness makes you a target. I sprinted down the trail, navigating from memory. And the farther I ran from the cabin, the louder the whistle became. It wasn't coming from behind me. It was coming from above. I looked up. You know what a tree looks like at night? A black silhouette against a gray sky. Against the sky, I saw one of the thick branches of an old oak turn, like a head, and where there should have been a tangle of limbs, I saw a silhouette, very tall, too thin. The proportions were inhuman, arms longer than legs. It wasn't standing on the ground. It was hanging from the branches like a spider in the center of its web, making that sound. I don't remember reaching the truck. I just remember the taste of blood in my mouth. I had bitten through my cheek. When I started the engine and turned on the headlights, the beams illuminated the trail ahead. There was a man standing there, wearing a red flannel shirt and jeans, exactly like mine. Except this man was standing with his back to the light, and his head was turned 180 degrees around. He was looking right at me. He had my face. I hit the gas. I drove right through him. No impact, just a cloud of icy vapor and that disgusting, triumphant whistle that seemed to laugh at me. I hit the gas. I drove right through him. No impact, just a cloud of icy vapor and that disgusting, triumphant whistle that seemed to laugh at me. I reached the highway 40 minutes later. My phone instantly exploded with messages. The first thing I did was call the park ranger service. They came to the cabin the next day in broad daylight. I went with them because my stuff and my ID were still there. The cabin was fine. Except on the floor, right under the window where the letters had been, there was a small pile of dry pine needles, and the ranger, a gray-haired guy in his 60s, looked at me and said, "Son, you probably fell asleep and had a nightmare. Only coyotes howl out here this time of year." He was lying. I saw his eyes. I know that look. It's the look of someone who has seen something too, but decided to forget. I will never go into the woods again. And my advice to you, if you ever hear a whistle in a deep forest, don't answer, and whatever you do, don't ask who's there. It will remember your voice. Right now, I'm sitting in my apartment in Chicago. Outside, cars are honking and sirens are wailing. It's the best lullaby in the world. But sometimes when it snows and the wind blows through the ventilation, I wake up at exactly 3:33 a.m., and I hear the double-pane window making that same high-frequency whistle. It's looking for me. It's asking, "Where are you?"